It's my privilege to be here with the great Avraham Infeld, who has been a builder of Jewish life, a builder of Jewish institutions, a motivational speaker, a spokesperson and educator for Klal Yisrael for decades, and someone who I greatly admire. Let me jump right in. I just have a few questions for you. The first is, in a sense, you can look at American Judaism from the inside, from positions you've had, most notably, as a former president of Hillel International. But in another sense, you can look at American life from the outside. You're born in South Africa. You live in Israel. And so from the outside, and maybe perhaps from the inside as well, what do you view as the great failures of American Judaism today?
Well, I'm not sure I'd call them failures. I would say tragic errors.
Uh-huh.
And they're probably in three areas. One is, and the most important one is, that for some reason, and I can talk a little bit about the reason, America has fallen for the myth that Judaism is a religion. While I was president of Hillel, the greatest job in the Jewish world, I'm going to tell you, there's more frequent flyer miles attached to that job than any other job, because there are Hillels in New Zealand, in Australia, in Russia, in Israel, and of course in North America. And if you're the president, you've got to visit them all, right? So I traveled a lot. Mm-hmm. And whenever I used to go to students, I used to carry a chart with me. This chart was divided into three columns. Across the top line, I used to write the words apples, oranges, bananas. On the second line, I wrote lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers. On the third line, I wrote shirts, jackets, pants. On the fourth line, I wrote Jew, blank, blank. And I asked Jews to fill in those blanks. I have over 200,000 responses from American Jewish students. Mm-hmm. Almost every single one of them wrote Jew, Christian, Muslim. Huh. Their immediate identification of themselves as Jews is that Judaism is a religion. Mm-hmm. I have 38,000 responses from Israeli students. Not one said Jew, Christian, Muslim. Uh-huh. Almost everyone put down after the word Jew, mm-hmm. Arab. Hmm. And then they started writing all kinds of different things, either Italian, Frenchman, Englishman.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Claiming that being Jewish is their nationalism. Uh-huh. These two myths, the one that the Jews are a nation, and the second that the Jews are a religion, are eating the hell out of us. Mm-hmm. The Jews are not a nation. Israel, a place in which the Jewish people find their national expression. Mm-hmm. A synagogue is a place in which Jewish people find their religious expression. Mm-hmm. But we are basically a people, and no one teaches that. For me, that is the biggest tragedy of American Jewish life. When you go to a campus where there's no Hillel house, and you want to start a Hillel, and you don't have the money to build, mm-hmm. where do they put the Hillel? Into the building of the other religions. Uh-huh. When I came here, I was shocked by that. It doesn't make sense. I should be with the Chinese. The Asians. Right. I mean, they are different peoples.
Right.
What's Hillel doing in the religious place? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm saying this as an Orthodox Jew. Mm-hmm. The first convert to Judaism, Ruth, used 4 words to describe her joining this thing. Mm-hmm. And those 4 words were, Amech, Ami, Velohayich, Elohai. Your people are my people, and your God is my God. And the order is not accidental. Being Jewish begins with a sense of belonging to this thing called the Jewish people. That doesn't happen by accident. That has to be taught. That has to be encouraged. The sense of belonging has to be developed. You don't do that by teaching that we're a religion, which we're not. We only became a religion with modernity, maximum 200 years ago. Mm-hmm. When the Jew living in the ghetto, as a member of his people, suddenly met modernity. And he started taking ideas from modernity. One of the ideas was that we're a religion. The other one was that we're a nationalism. That's not true. We're a people. We're a family. That's why we're called Bnei Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget, Shmuly, I can tell you, I'll never forget an experience I had. I had to give a lecture in Washington, D.C. on a Sunday morning. At 11 o'clock, I had to speak in Baltimore. In the afternoon, I was speaking in Philadelphia, and at night in New York City. There's no way you can do that on public transportation. So I rented a car. When you drive in a car on a Sunday morning in America, you have two choices. You can either listen to sports or you listen to Christian evangelists. I don't listen to sports in America because you people don't play any sport of consequence. There's no rugby, there's no cricket, there's no, just... So I listened to these evangelists. They were so exciting. It was amazing. By the time I reached New York, I was almost saved. And suddenly I remembered my late father saying to me, don't ever forget, the role of the Jew is not to be saved. The role of the Jew is to save.
Mm.
That's very different. Religions are meant to help people being saved.
Mm.
Jews are not in the business of being saved.
So you're touching on my next question then. So peoplehood or family, what's the purpose? What's the broader purpose? So if let's say we convince the Jewish people in America, or a significant number, that we're not just a religion, we're actually a people. So what's the purpose of this people?
You chose a great week in which to ask that question, because just this last Shabbat was Parshat Kedoshim.
Mm-hmm.
And we are told, you should be a holy people, Goy Kadosh. And I was in a shul this last Shabbat. I heard a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful word from a Rabbi Hauer, who I don't know well, but I admire very much. He said something very interesting. He said, what could that possibly mean, this phrase, Kedoshim Tiyu, be holy, because I, God, am holy. What does that mean, I, God, am holy? What is God? What is that? What is probably, if you read this narrative that we Jews have built about God, what is the outstanding feature of God? That he's never done anything for himself. Everything God has ever done is for others. That's what being holy is. We're meant to be a holy people. Just like God devotes his being to others, so you as a Jew have to devote your being to the welfare, the good, the health, the sustenance of others. God met our forefather, Avraham, and said to him three things. Abram, build the family. Like the stars in the heavens. Get out. I mean, I know your wife's 100 years old, but I'll help you. Go out and build a family. And the second thing God said was, go to your land. We Jews, people my age, I was born right after the Holocaust, the last 2 years of the Holocaust. We've had to rebuild the family. We've had to go to our land. But that isn't all that God said. God said something else. He said a third command to the Jewish people. V'nitbarchu bachem kol mishpachot ha'adamah. May all peoples on this earth be blessed by your presence. We're a people with a mission. We're an ethnic with an ethic.
So you might have thought holiness meant that you should be the recipient. You're elevated. And so other people should come give to you. You might have thought you should be passive. You might have thought you should be isolated, right? But in fact, it's exactly the opposite. You need to be connected, immersed in peoplehood, and ultimately other focus, giving focus.
And you open the walls of your tent so that you can impact in all directions.
Yeah.
You impact your people. You impact others.
Yeah.
You make this a better world.
Yeah.
So you ask me what the purpose of this people is. That's why I'm a Jew.
Yeah.
I'm a Jew who is commanded to tikkun olam. It's not that others don't do tikkun olam. but we are the only people I know who, as a people, are commanded to the task of tikkun olam.
So my last question for you: what are some of the boundaries or parameters or limitations on this notion of peoplehood?
They're very similar to the boundaries of family, which is why I know you're a rabbi, and I hope I'm not going to offend you. But where did you rabbis get this idea of converting to Judaism? What is this nonsense? There's no way in which people can convert to Judaism. The word for joining the Jewish people is giyur. Giyur doesn't mean conversion. Giyur comes from the Hebrew word lagur, to live with, to share fate with. There is a phrase in Hebrew called a converted Jew. Who's a converted Jew? He's a Jew who converted out. He may think he's a Catholic, and there the verb is mumar, which means conversion. That person, and is called a Yehudi mumar. He remains a Jew and is converted.
Can't escape.
Now that's ridiculous. Somebody who joins us is a Jew. Somebody who leaves us is a Jew. It's not easy to draw boundaries when you have a culture like that. It says, basically, somebody who's willing to assume the responsibilities of really living with you is who is a Jew. One who accepts upon himself that sense of belonging to a people whose mission is to change the world, and he wants to be a part of this thing. Both you and I are involved with this honeymoon experiment of how do we deal with intermarried couples. It's a very difficult task, because I was brought up in a world in which intermarriage was synonymous with assimilation. But today, America has reached a level of intermarriage where it's a fact of life. And therefore, somehow in my guts, I feel a duty to try to create a world in which intermarriage, because it exists, is not necessarily assimilation. So I want to work with intermarried couples in order to try to keep their kids as members of my family. I can't ignore the fact that this intermarriage is happening. I'm not in favor of it. I'm not encouraging it. Nobody asked me whether they should intermarry. But some non-Jews have had the chutzpah to marry members of my family. Well, now they're stuck with me.
Right.
And they're going to have to deal with the fact that I'm not giving up on those kids.
Yeah. It feels like Ahavat Yisrael, a real love of one's people, means when the reality changes, we change with it.
You have to.
And we're in a new era, and I feel you continue to be a source of bracha and inspiration to so many of us on how to educate, how to lead, and how to build our people, how to build our family. So thank you. I wish you so much continued success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.